So everybody all together in chat. Ichi ni sanda.
Ichi ni sanda.
Because it's time for more AEW news. Will Ospreay says he's not returning to AEW in January after all. And I put a tweet out about this. I was like, dude, sickos were spreading rumors that he was going to be back in January. He just had neck surgery. You shouldn't, as a fan, even want him back in January, for sakes. And yeah, that rumor got kiboshed. Thank God, bruv. Thank God. Moving along here. So Hangman sent autographed T-shirts to the fan who had their Ice Fears Hangman sign confiscated at an AEW taping. Last month, I went to AEW and one of my signs got confiscated by security and ruined my night. Little did I know it would make the rounds online and catch the attention of the AEW World Heavyweight Champion Hangman Adam Page, who personally sent me these autographed T-shirts. This is the coolest thing ever, a gift from the World's Heavyweight Champion. I, who turned a negative into the ultimate positive. Hangman is now officially my favorite wrestler ever. Definitely some cowboy. Tony Khan announces that there will be a women's blood and guts match. So we know that for sure. And that's cool. I mean, WWE seemingly moving away from there has to be a women's and a men's war games. Or maybe not. Maybe they lean right into having it separated. Or like what is Nikki Cross going to do? She's going to be in the dudes one, right? I'm sure she's going to jump off the cage. That's what she's going to do. She's going to jump onto a bunch of Samoans and they're going to sell for her. Or hopefully they just catch her and then like throw her through a table or something. But either way, Tony Khan's like, we're having both. And we know that this Dynamite is going to run long because of the advertising for it. So tonight is like the eliminator matches for who's going to be in, or like who has the advantage in these War Games matches. And then next week, I believe, is the actual blood and guts themselves. So that'll be a fun Dynamite to watch. I mean, I'm a mark for a gimmick, you know, 1 cage, 2 rings. There's a couple of them. Let's see if the women can steal the show from the men. I'll give it a good old shot. So moving along here, we've talked enough about that, though. A clip I dropped recently on the channel as well was talking all about like my thoughts on the tag division and all of that recently. So a surprising name has quietly been working behind AEW's creative team, says Ringside News. And let's see how surprising this name is here. Archibald Peck, or Robert Evans, is one of our writers. He works with the talent and doing interviews and just a very, very intelligent, super intelligent guy. This is Shivani talking. He and my son, Matt, became very good friends. They're both Star Wars nerds. I think we use him the right way because he's very smart. And he's a guy who wrestled in Chikara, I believe. So, no. What do you think about Tony Khan's strategy of freezing out talent with potential WWE plans? So we've chronicled this here at PWT, but the rumors have been running rampant and it's more and more confirmed every day. Every few months we hear more stories that basically Tony Khan just throws a hissy fit when you're going to leave and he freezes you. Or you just aren't on TV, which is his prerogative, right? Most people would want to like job you out a bunch or, you know, keep the, hey, like what they did with Ricochet. They had Braun just destroy him and everyone's like, well, he could come back though. Even R-Truth ended up actually coming back, or with Karrion Kross. And I'm not saying you got to do that every time, but whatever. Tony Khan's just got his approach and it's shitty for the boys when he freezes them and shit. Especially with when people preach about, you know, how bad WWE was for keeping people under contract who wanted to be there, all the free Ali and all of those hashtags. And I mean, it's an old topic, but yeah, it's come up again that, you know, Tony Khan just likes to freeze people. We already know that though. But Mike Bennett, who was in AEW, and I thought he was still there, but I guess him and his wife's contracts expired or whatever. And he's like, no more flips. Is what he posted. And then he quote tweeted it and went, looking to fill these dates for November, and then a bunch of dates. Side note for promoters. I know it can be expensive to bring guys into your shows. The way I work is I'll come in for a flat fee to wrestle. Then I'll do a seminar and meet and greet before the show. You can set the price of the seminar and meet and greet and keep all the profits to try and help offset the costs of bringing me in. I just want to wrestle and help as much as possible. So that's pretty fucking cool. I'll give that a like and a retweet just to like, I don't know, maybe someone books him or something. At the same time, yeah, he needs to get booked, man, and he's got children and stuff. So book Mike Bennett. I like Mike Bennett. It's kind of shitty. Is he done in AEW? I'm not sure, but it's sort of shitty how they were booked. Like they were just brought in as an afterthought on that whole devil thing they did with MJF, which ended up being an afterthought a month later. You know, the whole devil bullshit just fell apart, and these guys did not get elevated at all from it, like Bennett or Taven, and it's unfortunate. Speaking of being elevated, AEW quietly breaks new ground with same-sex couple presentation on Collision. So Tegan Knox and I always forget her name. I always forget her goddamn name. Her wife or girlfriend, they are like visibly an on-screen lesbian couple, and I don't know if any wrestling promotion has ever done that. And instead of this being like hailed or praised or like breaking ground and being, people don't really give a shit. And AEW's done so much silly shit. Well, there's already been girls kissing and stuff, so this isn't breaking ground like the way they maybe could have presented it, or I don't know. Ellen DeGeneres, everyone remembers that, right? She came out as gay, and that shit went crazy. The first gay kiss on television was on one of these, I think it was like Dawson's Creek or whatever, and that's something everyone remembers. The first, you know, it's, they could have broke some ground there, but again, they've done so much ridiculous shit, and girls are already kissing and stuff like that and on those shows, and HLA did it first, pal. So Brian Alvarez, and we were talking with Husey about like PWG and training facility. We touched on it briefly, but AEW recently, according to Brian Alvarez here, so Brian Alvarez, AEW recently moved all of their storage items from Florida over to Nashville. So there's no longer a training ring in Florida. This is notable because that's where the wrestlers would go to work out and try and get cleared. What? Huh? That existed? Not sure what the plan is now. So they even scrapped that. They even scrapped that. Tony Khan even scrapped their training. The best guys, Tony Khan. The fuck is going on? They just don't give a shit about the future of pro wrestling. I really feel that way. Or if they do, they're just misguided. When I say they, I just realistically mean Tony Khan and the people who like champion him and shit. Hopefully they get it together. It, to me though, it seems like they're low key trying to push like a PWG is our NXT. Like we're gonna revamp ROH and shit, but like they have ROH, so no one cares about PWG. They don't care about fucking ROH. They're not gonna care about PWG. And I know PWG's in Cali, but like realistically, Excalibur works for them. Why didn't they partner with Nuge and then have like ROH doing a YouTube show and touring around to sort of like their house show circuit, and then PWG can just stay in Cali and let some of these guys, like they had it all right there, man. And maybe they could revamp all of this, but it just seems like no, they don't even give a fuck. Not enough people are using the training ring even for it to matter. That's why they scrapped it. I bet there's just nobody even uses that shit or takes advantage of it. But Konosuke Takeshita and Yota Tsuji, speaking of Nuge, they're going to go IWGP World Heavyweight Champion for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. And for the women's titles, it's the same thing. They're doing like the IWGP women's title versus the Stardom title, like winner takes all, or if it's not Stardom, it's I think it's Stardom, yeah. But either way, this is January 4 at the Tokyo Dome. Now, Takeshita and Tsuji rule. If you guys aren't like super into Nuge, I mean, I haven't been recently either. I mean, I can't even lie. I'll for surely be watching this though. You for surely be watching Wrestle Kingdom every year just to know what's going on. Takeshita, I mean, he's awesome. Tsuji's awesome as well. You guys can probably tell from the photo. He has like an identical twin brother too, who looks just like him. It's pretty scary actually how identical they are. And I think they pulled like the twin magic once. But either way, they're merging. Like they had this global heavyweight title, and Tsuji's all like, yeah, I want to get rid of this belt and this fucking clown belt Takeshita has, and I want to fucking bring back the old IWGP belt. So I don't know, that would be way cooler than the shit they have. I mean, people say the WWE titles are bad. That's a pretty bad belt. And if you make the argument, well, they do it to appeal to wider audiences so that they can have like New Japan belt can get fucking a deal with NFL teams or whatever in America and toys and stuff, but that's not the case. That isn't what happened when they made it look like that. And then this belt looks cool, but it's just the global champion. Oh, so like the world heavyweight champion? So yeah, title versus title. Trios match for $1 million. Added to Full Gear. $1 million trios match. Come on down. I mean, I'm not against that, but like, why isn't there a story about this? Why isn't the Bucks' whole thing? They like make a one-off goofy graphic on a pay-per-view of their bank account. Why not make it like serious, or you like a Happy Corbin, like $1 million? That's a life-changing cheddar. If you're smart, if you're an idiot with money, you're like, oh, it's fucking. If you're just like a down-to-earth regular guy or gal, $1 million, you're like, well, that fucking takes care of a whole lot, you know, even for wrestlers. But Tony Khan has no perception of that, so it's just like $1 million on the line, bro. People would do Squid Game type activity for $1 million on the line, you know. People do it for less. People get in the UFC cage and fight each other and head kick and elbow each other to shit and choke each other unconscious for way less than $1 million. We're talking world champions, dude. Do it for way less than $1 million. So, I mean, this should be a way bigger deal, but it's just a nothing. It's just Tony Khan like, I know, $1 million in a trios match. Not even like one-on-one. Well, it's not really $1 million because there's 3 guys. So it's like they have to split it up into $33,333.33. Fucking asshole. Oh man. Thunder Rosa addresses breast implant rumors after fan speculation. So again, the sickos be sickoing, and she says, I just gained 6 pounds. I'm packing a lot, you know, in the trunk. The trunk is trunking. I'm packing. People were asking, like, seriously, were asking if I got a boob job, but I just gained weight, you know? Yeah, I mean, Thunder Rosa is like one of the biggest missed opportunities for AEW, and it sucks that the ship has sailed on her likely in WWE, unless they pick her up whenever her deal's done, and she goes to, as far as her tits and her weight, I mean, I'm not even going to comment on that. I'm just talking about she's such a missed opportunity. She could have been like the most over, and at one point I'd argue was babyface women's wrestler on the roster, and with WWE, hopefully maybe she can show up in NXT even as an older wrestler. I'm not trying to fucking shit on her, but I'm just like, okay, 40, you're getting around the 40 mark, you're older in athletics, okay, maybe she could go be a coach and do some AAA stuff as well. I mean, I think she could have been #1 if marketed correctly, women's wrestler in the world with merch and the designs of her face paints, her action figures. You had it right there in AEW. Again, they just fucked it up. Like, they had heat with her. And then, yes, she had a bad injury as well. But, you know, there's rumors of like Britt Baker chased her in a bathroom and she was getting bullied and shit a little bit. And then there was instances where she was accused of bullying people. She shot on Ivelisse a little bit. And I'm not saying WWE could push her to the moon, but like some of those luchadoras that we saw them, like when AAA crossed over, WWE went with some luchadoras who were a little up there in age as well. All I'm saying is that Thunder Rosa could maybe team with like someone they're trying to get over in AAA, and maybe she could do dates for them over there, coach in the PC, that sort of stuff. I think that'd be awesome. As far as like a main roster run and that, I don't know. I think that shit might have sailed, and it's unfortunate that AEW just did not capitalize on it when it was hot. Speaking of characters that AEW didn't capitalize on, so Brian Cage is set to undergo a 3rd knee surgery after another devastating setback. And this guy has been paid, injured, re-signed multiple times, dude. Multiple surgeries. Like, Tony Khan did not, and he's not going to. He signed his last ever deal with AEW for sure. Speaking of up there in age, because Cage takes care of himself. He's jacked up, but the dude's, I think, in his 40s or circling it. Let's look. Brian Cage wrestler age. And again, not shitting on him. He's 41. I think he just signed like, Tony Khan's throwing dough at him because WWE did want Cage for sure. And again, he's injured and Tony Khan's keeping this guy and paying him to be, and I'm not even going to shit on it, but a guy that just wasn't used in AEW. Like if he went to WWE, man, they would have pushed him like fucking crazy. They would have figured out what to do with him for sure. At least give him something more compelling than just like he's a heater in random factions every. Shout out Brian Cage. And this is unfortunate, dude. A third knee surgery. He's been gone forever. And like when he comes back, is it going to matter? Speaking of, is it going to matter? There's a lot of doom and gloom surrounding Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani, and he went viral for being an AEW fan. And so Zamdani is a sicko. So Raj Giri talked about ratings. We were talking about Nuge. We'll circle back to ratings and attendances and all that. Tomohiro Ishii suffered a dislocated shoulder at a recent AEW event and will miss the forthcoming Nuge cards. So Ishii hurt his goddamn shoulder. So Darby Allin, he was in that little trailer there, and he confirmed in better news that Henry County, Georgia, has given him a plot of land alongside Tony Hawk as well to build a skate park. And Henry County has given us a whole plot of land to build a skate park. I moved here in 2019, and I realized the nearest skate park was 30 minutes away. I was like, this is crazy, because honestly, I wouldn't be here without skateboarding, and I mean that. And they gave us Heritage Park. And so, yeah, Darby and Tony Hawk are teaming up to create this skate park. And opinions on Darby aside in wrestling, I do like what he does with, like, skateboarding and promoting, like, stuff for communities and shit like that. You know what I mean? I'll put that over. And everybody was into fucking like Tony Hawk Underground, and that was maybe my era when we were younger. Everyone wanted to be a skateboarder, and like that movie Grind and Tony Hawk Pro Skater and all that shit. So we talked about Mercedes Monea earlier, and Mercedes Monea's having a world title showdown at House of Glory Wrestling. JD most certainly won't be on the show. I'll be seeing myself out. Mercedes Moné challenges APAC champion Nor Phoenix Diana at Hog Super Clash in Long Island. Phoenix defends her title on U.S. soil for the first time. Poor fucking this girl is going to come here from whatever part of the world she's from and drop her title to Moné or what? God damn it.
Sometimes in life, you got to be a hoe.
So I guess this is... I forget where this woman's from here. Let's look this up. Nor Phoenix. She's a Malaysian pro wrestler. So shout out Malaysian Pro Wrestling. And she's traveling to the US for the first time and challenging Mercedes Monea. And JD's like, what's in the bowl, bitch? Yeah, it's I wonder if Moné will drop her title. Or pardon me, if this Diana, pardon me, I'll call her Phoenix. I wonder if Phoenix will drop her title to Moné, and then does Moné got to go defend it on the Malaysian pro wrestling circuit? Like, what happens? What happens there? Lex, what happens in this situation?
I don't know!
I think she's going to weasel her way out of defending any of these fucking titles or losing any of these titles, you know? But good for Tony Khan or whoever put this deal together for Moné. Good for them. Speaking of good for AEW, things have not been looking so good in the ticket sales and ratings department. So on November 8th, Collision Saturday at the Bayou Music Center in Houston, Texas, they've sold 1,300 tickets. The setups for 1,350. People are like, well, they sold it out. Yeah, but why can't they go to the bigger buildings anymore, dude? Like 4 years ago, they'd have to go to the bigger building because there's just no heat on any of this shit. So, like, okay, good for them if they sold this out. Like, I'm pumped when AEW does the smaller venues and accepts that. You can't then turn around and be crying about fucking SmackDown did 4K or whatever, right? I don't want to hear it. JCW just did 2,000 tickets. There's another show here. I think I thought I bookmarked it, but it's called like Buzzkiller Pro Wrestling sold like 1,800 tickets for a show. So I don't want to hear shit about it, you know? Like a Collision should be way hotter than this. Is what it is, though. Speaking of Collision, they scored their lowest 18-49 in show history and their third lowest audience in its time slot on Saturday, courtesy of Raj Giri, against a monster World Series Game 7. Yeah, I mean, I was watching it. It was devastating. The baseball game was devastating if you're a Canadian, because Canadians all rally together and cheer for the Jays or the Raps whenever they, you know, make it far, but in the playoffs. But yeah, it was a fucking entertaining game, though, dude. And back-to-back champions there. But on the wrestling side of things, Collision averaged 217K viewers. And there was no trick-or-treating going on. You know, on the Friday SmackDown, people are shitting all over it because of its low rating, which, okay, you should. You should shit on it. But just to compare the two, there was trick-or-treating and a World Series Game 6 going on that night as well. So, I mean, what are we doing here? Why are all the AEW fans mad about the WWE ratings and not worrying more about this? Where were you all to watch this show? Or were you all watching the show and that's exactly how many fans there are left? It's dwindling down. That's the fucking problem. And people don't need to talk about how WWE's cold right now. Okay, it is, sure. AEW's been cold for so goddamn long. Why can we not ever focus on that? Why can no one ever focus on that to try and help it? Especially the people who claim they care. I don't know. So yeah, wrestling overall shitting the bed for their respective beds for incredibly intense and epic fucking sports, right? Alexander Ovechkin just scored the 900th goal or whatever tonight. Like shit's, you know, sports are going crazy right now. And it's expected. Wrestling is going to do lower viewership, especially with shitty shows like SmackDown. Hey, we admit it's shitty. Collision's shitty too, right? So that's why it's like this. Hopefully people can just start admitting that and maybe things will get better on that front. So Dynamite tonight has 1,300 tickets sold. Again, it's the sellout. This is just an updated to show you they did in fact sell out. And then Dynamite Blood and Guts next week, right? They did a house. So they're set up for 4,100. And they've sold so far 3,500 tickets. They'll obviously sell this out. They'll do the 4,000 tickets. And good for AEW. Now, again, it sucks when you got to look and go 3,500 tickets for them. 4,000 is like, oh, man, AEW crushed it. That fucking sucks because they used to do way better than this. But, man, the Blood and Guts, if nothing, proves that it can draw a little bit. Now, if you put the right bodies in there, if you build up to it correctly, if you don't make cringe videos like this one from your hotel room going, we have a big announcement tomorrow, but I'll announce it now. Blood and Guts. Tune in tomorrow to hear the announcement that I just announced now. It's great. Right? Then maybe it would have even more intrigue. And if you really build to it correctly. But just to compare again to WWE, their War Games, they didn't have to announce shit, and it sold tens of thousands of tickets. So, again, I would worry more about AEW if you're an AEW fan, but I'm going to stop beating that dead horse. Like, it's just, you know, this, I want to compare this to TNA, which we're going to get into TNA news quickly. I want to compare this to TNA's ticket sales for their next pay-per-view. Because TNA did really good. They did like 7,000, 8,000 for their Bound for Glory event, but their next PLE or pay-per-view called in TNA, they sold like 2,000 tickets. Yeah, Final Resolution, and they're only set up for 2,000 tickets. They haven't even sold 1,000 yet. So it's like, where did that heat go? Now, NXT isn't like helping them as well. They're still helping them, but they're not helping them like as much. The invasion sort of cooled down. And I think we'll see more of it. But at the same time, man, it's quite unfortunate that they've only sold like not even 1,000 tickets yet for their December show. You'd think they'd have at least cleared 1,000 early on and then just have to fill the last little bit. So yeah, we're going to just compare to TNA numbers. This book is All Elite. is the official story of AEW. It's out today and available now. Here's some excerpts. We read some before. So here's them talking about MJF and Adam Cole. There's Tony Khan hugging them. Oh, that's sweet. You can hide in my bathroom. There's Lance Archer, who's like barely featured on the fucking show. He's just a backup dancer for backup dancers on the show when he should be way more prominent, and he's there, featured there. And people were like, Punk and Rhodes are heavily covered. Yeah, no shit, you're gonna have to cover them, but what is heavily covered about them? Like, what does that mean? Are you guys gonna talk about what really happened, or is this just a this wasn't looking bad? Like, read some of these quotes. Let's read these quotes. It's just a glaze fest, and I'm fine with that. Carnies are gonna carny. I've said it before. I called it out before this book came out. If you're gonna make a real book, this isn't gonna be some cutting edge, like, oh, the backstage. It's just for fucking sickos to buy this book and then glaze AEW some more. That's fine. But those same people who shit on WWE for whitewashing their history and releasing the self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior and like releasing the rise and fall of WCW and like painting their history and Dave Meltzer, oh, they still lie about 93,000, Brian. You guys have to keep the same energy for this book. It's not like this book, they're going to go, oh yeah, you know, when Rhodes left, we really shit the bed as a company because Tony Khan greatly offended his wife and fucking... and then people, or allegedly, right? And then when Punk came in, he saved our lives, and then he left, and then the show he was on that he brought in, or I think Rampage got canceled first. They bring in Collision, whatever order it happened in, but he left the company, and then now we're getting outdrawn by fucking indies. There's indies selling 1,800 tickets for indie shows right now with Vince Russo on them, and we can't even sell 1,300 year 6 after Punk left. Like, if they're not going to say that truth, then it's just pulling a Vince McMahon. Do it. Carnies are going to carny. That's my take. Where's anyone coping over this? Where's anyone calling Tony McCon out other than your boy Phil going, what the fuck? This is just a crock of shit. As far as, like, again, just not keeping the same energy. Hashtag free Ali, but freeze Phoenix. Hashtag freeze Phoenix or whatever, you know. It's just, so there, I don't know, there's just these quotes like, there was the opportunity to become something bigger. AEW is opening doors in a major way. What doors did it open? Guys just made a bunch of fucking money. So Tony Khan says, I think pro wrestling at its best can be about all different kinds of rivalries and relationships, friendships and grudges. Wow, how prolific of a thought that everybody fucking realizes. That's why we watch pro wrestling. Moving along, Tony Khan says, this wasn't looking back at WCW and ECW 20 years later and trying to recreate it. We were going to make our own history. Oh my God. All he's done is recreate the worst of like every bad wrestling company. WWE, TNA, WWE, I said WWE twice because that's how bad it was, pal. At certain points. ECW, right? WCW, he's fucking brought the worst of most of it and clumped it together. So yeah, guys, go and pre-order, or it's already out, pardon me, not a pre-order. Order your copy here of This Book Is All Elite if you want to read more. But again, I called it. I told you guys, it's not going to be, again, they could have broke ground. They could have been the company to go, no, we're going to fucking pull the curtain all the way back. And they don't have to do that. I don't care. There's no way this is like a compelling read. If you're a fan of AEW, you've already heard all these quotes. You've already heard Tony go, it's great. It's very great. Everything's really great. You've already heard him cope over other companies and shit. Like, what is this for? It's just like his backstage videos. What is this shit for? Who is this for? Just yourselves to like Tony Khan to just pat himself on the back and go, we have a book about AEW, which by the way will sell 100,000 copies in the allotted amount of time, which then the New York Times will be like New York Times bestseller or whatever, an Amazon bestseller. Like that's what it will be. And then he can just sort of like weasel his way into the history books, which is fine. I mean, he's not the first rich guy to do that, but I don't gotta like it. You know what I mean? It's fine. I don't gotta like it. Speaking of that's that shit I don't like. Orange Cassidy, John Moxley, and Willow Nightingale flip through the pages of the This Is All Elite book and reflect on the company and its history.
Like, as I'm just flipping through pictures, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I don't remember anything, and I remember that.
Covers a lot of the kind of the pandemic, Daly's Place.
When I went on my wife's podcast and said that I've never been in a company, they actually left out a quote when I told my wife that AEW is the whiniest, bitchiest schoolgirl locker room I've ever been in. Oh, did they leave that quote out, Mox?
For a brand new company who was doing really good and selling tickets in all these buildings, and people were excited to come out, and then all of a sudden that just got shut down. If we could survive that, we'd survive anything.
Before I got to AEW, I would still watch it every week, and it makes me a little emotional to think that, like, in such a short time, I feel like it has a really rich history.
In 2020, when I wrestled Pac at Revolution, it was the first singles match I had in AEW. It was on pay-per-view, and it was the first time that I could really show who Orange Cassidy was, who I am.
We all really love this company, and we all have a lot of passion for wrestling.
What makes AEW stand out?
I mean, it's a yearbook. Tony, just hand out a fucking yearbook backstage, give them to Dave, say, send these to all the Observer readers this week in that edition, and just fucking send these to everyone on your fucking mailing list or whatever. Like,
wrestlers like
who's
me,
this for, dude?
not what you think a professional wrestler is in your brain.
We've had Stadium Stampede matches.
In today's day and age, that's why it's just so, like, I rip on it so hard, because in today's day and age, people like the raw, uncut, the sports base, like, you know, the documentaries like The Last Dance. I don't need to hear about the flu game unless I'm like seeing footage from behind the scenes and hearing the players who were there talk about it. I don't need to hear people just like giving me a Wikipedia entry. It's like the Tupac movie, right? The Tupac movie was just like, okay, they read Tupac's Wikipedia and just showed each of the key things from his Wikipedia. If that's what you're doing in AEW, it's just like a glaze sesh. It's just sort of behind the times. That's all. Like, I don't know. Some people might pick it up, and obviously these guys are just putting it over. But again, they're not going to include quotes from Mox where he's like, I wasn't even signed to this company, and I don't even have to drop this title to you, punk. I'm doing you a favor. Is that quote in there? Where your fucking champions walking around, Mr. Cool Guy, not even signed to your company, saying, I don't need to, I could go to the other company and shit. On his wife's podcast, you didn't quote that, did you?
In the arena, which I was able to be a part of. My buddy Orange Cassidy was a part of like a mimosa match. Like, that's crazy.
Like, oh, how awesome is this mimosa match? Bro, what the fuck? You never did another one. Because it wasn't a good idea.
Tony Khan's entire goal, I don't know what he would say if he was asked the question, but from my perspective, is just to put on good wrestling shows that people like.
Seeing new faces who otherwise would have like never received like the praise that they have. AEW, they see the value in.
Okay, hold on. Again, don't diminish these folks, Willow. I love you, but like Brody King, come on, man. They wouldn't have known how to push him in WWE, or Julia Hart.
Like the praise that they have. AEW, they see the value in you.
Or like TNA wouldn't have known what to do with like a Julia Hart. Are you sure about that? You know,
they see it's like, oh, this is something different. There's so much ahead. So it's cool to be at the start of it and be like, oh, I'm making a cool thing. I'm part of it.
And shout out Willow. She's just saying it for what it is. Like, it's, you know, it's a yearbook. It makes me happy that I'm like in this thing that I was a part of, but whatever. I'm gonna miss you, Jericho.